Troy Anderson is the managing broker and owner of Tend Home Team in the Seattle East Side area. I love how they explain their brokerage and their company on their website. They say that many real estate agents have very nice sounding mission statements, but they don't really live up to that. They tend to sprinkle in a lot of colorful words to describe themselves, but Tend Home Team choose a different path. They consider themselves nothing more than high performance maniacs. I love that they use the word maniacs. They're dedicated on making their clients better off than they were before they met their team and their company. So, Troy, I love that you point that out on your website. To start out the conversation, could you share how you personally ended up joining the real estate industry?
Yeah, I got started in real estate as an investor and like a fix and flip remodeler person. So that was started that journey about 25 years ago. I ended up getting licensed about 20 years ago, and then just started moving into more brokerage services. And now that's my primary focus. We do a few projects from time to time, but it's mainly helping people buy, sell, and invest and achieve their dreams.
So, how did you transition from investor to licensed real estate agent in residential real estate?
I just started seeing more opportunities for myself in that space, and I was frustrated with the help I was getting from the brokers I was working with. Honestly,
Yeah,
it's like I can do
makes
this
sense.
myself.
Yeah, you wanted to be the solution.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, whenever you joined, can you recall where your first deal came from outside of yourself? You probably first started out doing the deals for yourself, but can you
Yeah,
recall your first
actually,
transaction?
my very first deal as a broker was a for sale by owner that I just kept in touch with and followed up with. So, that's kind of foundational skills when you're getting started in real estate. You may or may not have a database, but people who are raising their hands and say, "Hey, I have a house to sell," you know, you can step in front of them and see how you can help.
Wow, that's unusual. Most people I talk to, they get their first sale from a friend or family member. So you
Oh,
dove
really?
straight into the hard stuff and you got your first sale from a FISBO. That's really cool. So whenever you joined the industry, did you go solo or did you have a mentor?
I started off completely on my own. I actually started off at Keller Williams and had a few mentors there. I ended up getting into coaching through Brian Buffini. Um, I don't do that anymore, but still kind of follow his cadence and advice when it comes to that. So,
Okay. So then how did you transition from, I think you said 25 years ago, by yourself solo to today? Now you have your own brokerage and your own team of agents with you.
our name is Tend Home Team, but we broker everything through EXP Realty. So we just use them as a brokerage house. And then so it just I ended up getting into REO, which is foreclosures and bank owned properties, and had to assemble a team to manage all of the activities that are required with that. So that's how I transitioned from being a solo agent to having a team and liking the team concept. So
And I know that is probably always evolving and changing, but what does the current structure of your team look like? How many agents do you have? Do you have any supporting staff? What does that look
yeah,
like?
for sure. I have four agents that work with me. A couple are part time. They do some investments and stuff on the for themselves. And then I've got a full time marketing person, and then I outsource my transaction coordination services.
Okay.
That's
Would you be open to sharing where your business comes from? Do you do a combination of online lead generation? Is it still through FISBOs, expired, circle prospecting, open houses? What does that spread look like?
Yeah, I'd say the majority of my business is about 75% is sphere repeat and referral. We're pretty heavily involved with our community, chambers of commerce, community events, things like that. So that's where the majority of my business comes from. We do still do some circle prospecting and for sale by owner reach out, expireds. But yeah, the majority comes from sphere and past and current clients.
So you mentioned community involvement. What does that mean when you're involved with the community? Does that mean you're sponsoring events? What does that look like?
We're mainly involved with the Chamber of Commerce. I serve on the board of directors for our local chamber here, and so it is a combination of sponsoring events, just showing up to networking events, building relationships. We have a community podcast that we do, so it's our community here in Woodinville, Washington, is centered kind of around the wine industry a little bit. So we typically open a bottle of wine, talk about it on the podcast, and then I have guests. They're either community members or local businesses that come on and talk about their business. And then we round it out with a little bit of real estate talk at the end. So just building relationships that way through our community.
That explains the bottle opener on your wall.
Yes.
So, can you share what technology you currently use to support your business? What CRM do you use? What website do you use? Things like that.
So I've used Follow Up Boss for the last 4 or 5 years as my CRM, and I use Agent Fire for my website. That's a recent addition. I did have a like a custom website that was built for me, and I plugged that into different IDX sources. But the Agent Fire has been pretty seamless. Talks to Follow Up Boss really well. And then we use, for an automated valuation service, we use Fellow, which is a way to give people automated valuations a little bit better than Zillow.
How did you stumble across Follow Boss?
Oh, Follow Up Boss, I made a choice probably 10 years ago between Follow Up Boss and another CRM, and I went with the other CRM. And everyone just kept talking about Follow Up Boss, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. So then I got Follow Up Boss, and it's been the best CRM I've ever worked with.
What makes you say it's the best CRM?
Well, it's so it plugs and plays with so many other tools that we have to use in real estate so well. It keeps track of my conversations. It's got a automated dialer. It just makes life easier. I can quickly look at records. I can sort by I can tag people. So if they came on the podcast a couple of years ago, I can look at that tag and see who I might want to have back on the show. It's just really easy to sort and use.
Yeah, that's good. So then how did Agent Fire come into the picture? I think you mentioned that was a fairly recent addition.
Yes. So my website was probably about 10 years old and looking a little clunky. So I just went out, looked at, I think, luxury something or other, and then also Agent Fire. And Agent Fire is based on WordPress, which I'm super familiar with. So it seemed like an easy transition. And it's been great to work with. Making custom pages on it is easy to do. Yeah, I don't have any complaints. IDX is pretty robust. Until people start talking with us, we just keep them on, the generic IDX, and when they start talking to us, we put them in the MLS and go from there.
Yeah, that's good. And then the last technology you mentioned, Fellow, you use it primarily for home valuation reports. How has your experience been with Fellow so far?
Fellow has been good. Yeah, it's basically turned over some rocks in my database. People that I hadn't been in contact with in the past, I had their address in my database. It sends them an automated valuation, and they've engaged with it. Some have said, of course, they're not ready to sell yet, but other people have said, yeah, we're looking in 2 or 3 years to sell. What should we do to our house now? So, it's just started those conversations, and I say turn over the rocks, per se. In an automated way, then doesn't require a lot of effort on my end to put into place. So yeah,
Not a lot of effort. It's really nice for sure. Okay, so you've been using Follow Boss 4 or 5 years. Can
Yep.
you recall how we, Key Technology, and y'all originally got connected?
Yeah, I think I was on the Follow Up Boss Facebook group, and someone was mentioning, how to how can I improve my follow-up boss, or I need this automation set up, and your name came up several times, and I'm like, oh, I should reach out and see what you can do. And I'm glad I did. It's we thought we were using follow-up boss well, and then after you put in um, the system you put in place really made it even easier for us to sort and segregate our database so we know who to talk to, whether it's the smart lists or just we weren't really great about the lead stage aspect of follow up boss, which is I think important, but a lot of people that we had even transacted with stayed in the lead status for whatever reason.
Oh
And
yeah, they kind
so
of just
yeah,
got stuck there.
your system has been super helpful to clean up the database.
That's good. So you mentioned the smart list. For those who aren't familiar with the setup we provide, could you share what the setup looks like and what the smart lists are? So you have mentioned smart lists. What about action plans, automations? What does that look like?
Yeah, so smart lists, I think there's 8 of them that we primarily go through on a daily basis and look at, and that's based on level of interaction people have had with our database, our CRM, fellow even, and so we go through that. It just kind of provides a workflow for us to pick up some of the lower hanging fruit. And then the automations, we also use automated text service called Lead Engage, I think it's called.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, and that's been good too, because that if someone goes on, say, fellow and looks at their valuation, then an automated follow up through Lead Engage comes on and texts them a message. And there's also an email drip campaign associated with that too. So it's just, yeah, the drips you provide are super short and intuitive, that cause people to want to respond. So I
And
appreciate that.
can you recall off the top of your head how long you've been using the setup in Follow Boss?
We have only been on it maybe 6 months, so it's pretty fresh. I'm still learning some things. So I mean, um, I'd say that a lot of the automations in follow up you guys have done is way over my head as far as that's concerned, technology wise. So it's been nice to do some training. Yeah, I think your training's excellent. So
Yeah, and we
taking all
always
my
say baby
agents through
steps.
that, it's a process, but the the training you provide is excellent as well.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It's always baby steps. There's a lot of automations for you to take advantage of, but it sounds like you have been able to prioritize what's most important. And now that you're 6 months in, you're able to continue your learning process and layer in more and more automations to continue to incorporate long-term nurture automations as you continue to learn the process. So being only 6 months in, um, can you share some of the initial results you've seen so far, whether it's easier use of follow up boss for you and your agents, just knowing what to do when they log in now, less time figuring out what to do, more responses from leads, things of that nature?
Yeah, in the past, I think we had really kind of relied heavily on tasks, and tasks can in Follow Up Boss are great. However, that sort of process can fall off a cliff if you don't get to your tasks and they don't you don't follow up with them the next day, and it is just kind of goes from there. Whereas a smart list, the way it's organized, gives you kind of a daily workflow, and that's what we work through. And then we go from there. We would move if we move through all of those activities. We would move to the people that we haven't yet communicated with, like a pond. We've got a couple different ponds that we use.
That's great. So,
Yeah.
final question for you. You may have to think about this when I'm putting you on the spot. As we wrap up the conversation, I'd love for you to think of a strategy that you've implemented in your business that's had some sort of impact. It doesn't have to be follow-up boss related. It doesn't have to be technology related. If it is, that's great. But just something that's had an impact in your business in some way, whether it's had an impact in the way that you manage your leads, manage your client retention, had an impact in your business growth or overall increase in your business's sales growth. What is one strategy you've implemented that's been helpful?
One strategy I implemented was actually it's more belly to belly stuff. We do 4 events a year, and so it gives us a reason to reach out. We usually partner with a nonprofit, so we have some sort of nonprofit aspect to it, to where this, like recently, we were asking for donations for bikes for underprivileged families for Christmas, and so we were able to put on an event, our pie event, and tag that. So we give pies away for Thanksgiving. A lot of realtors do that, and so we were able to partner with a nonprofit and have a different, have more of a purpose for people. And so we do about 4 of those events a year. We do like a summer barbecue and a spring dump run type thing where we collect garbage and shredding and stuff like that. And we always, so that gives us reasons to basically nurture our database. It gives us reasons to call people other than, hey, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, and invest in real estate? I mean,
Mm-hmm. And those 4 events that you host throughout the year, are they open to the general public or are they just for your
you
past?
know, you know, um, I listened to different people in the industry, and I was heavily into Hat's coaching at the time, a few years ago, and he said he opened up his events to the community, and that scared the heck out of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people are going to show up. They don't. So yeah, I opened it up to the community, and it's really fostered some great relationships. Like we've got a group of people that come together. We haven't transacted with them yet, but they've been coming to the events for about a year, and it just seems to grow. Their friends invite their
Mhm.
friends, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is great. So it's a grassroots thing, and eventually, they are talking real estate. So it'll turn into business someday.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that insight and that one strategy you've implemented. Nothing will replace that human connection in real estate. If anyone was ever wondering, AI will never replace us. A drip campaign will never replace us.
Yeah, and the technology we use behind the scenes, I feel like Follow Up Boss and those things that are in place definitely help us streamline and be able to more effectively have events like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing your real estate journey and your technology journey thus far,
Yeah,
and
great.
your time. Thank you, Troy.
Thank you.